Part 2: Ending of Breaking That Ceiling. Until earlier this fall we only met to discuss family matters and issues with our kids, so I didn't get to really examine her behavior, but the reports from friends and family were encouraging, and now that we are interacting much more, I see real differences in her attitude and ways of expressing her feelings, positively. All of this leads me to be hopeful. For 2 years she has worked hard to better herself. And until a month ago I gave her no hope of R at all. On the contrary, I repeatedly told her to find someone else, because I had moved past her and wasn't interested. She is doing this because she wants to be better. I know her, and she would not work this hard if she wasn't completely committed to self-improvement. I have told her how impressed I was with her, and she glowed. Got some new info. It seems that within the week of D-Day, Brad was constantly moping around my ex, trying to get her to come back to him, but she was having none of it and ignored him until she finally talked to the administrator and told him the whole story. They both were nearly fired but were allowed to stay as long as there was no contact between them other than work-related. It seems that Brad is a young guy who fell in love with an older woman and had a hard time realizing that it was over. But again, this is second-hand. I really think that my refusal to let her come home right after D-Day was crucial to any long-term recovery. Admittedly, I was just angry at the time and had no plan, but it seems that I got lucky, and that she was already remorseful and ashamed of herself. So my refusal reinforced that. Plus, unlike Brad, she never imagined anything long-term with him, and only went to his place because she had nowhere else to go. All of this came as a huge awakening to her, and burned off the fog very quickly. She has said the same thing at least 20 times to me, that she wishes she could turn back time. The night her affair became physical, she had 2 choices to make and she chose wrong both times. She could have chosen to not get physically involved, and she could have come home afterwards and told me everything. I would have probably tried to work it out, in either case, but that is hindsight and I can't be sure. I might have reacted like I did on D-Day and thrown her out. I don't know. The trouble was that her anger and pride wouldn't let her admit that she chose wrong, and everything afterwards, the angry words and the boasting to her friends, were attempts to put a good face on a horrible situation. She very quickly abandoned that idea and has been completely responsible and remorseful ever since. The trouble is that I couldn't or wouldn't believe her, because of my own pride and anger. I still have a lot of trouble with the things she said, even though, considering my playing around, and her hard work and insistence that she meant none of them, and that they weren't true. In any case, I feel that forgiveness is just like the rest of reconciliation, a process. I will trust her more and forgive her more, as she earns it. I have been crystal clear to her about what I expect from her. Marriage will not take place for several years, if ever. She knows and agrees with all of my conditions and expectations. Actually, in point of fact, she has imposed most of them herself. I do want to make this very important point. Other than the act of divorce, I have never vilified her, rebuked her, or badmouthed her to anyone. She is the one who confessed to all of our family and friends. She has always taken all of the blame for the affair. She is far harder on herself than I have ever been or ever intend to be. And what happened to FWB? We broke up. She just wanted much more than I could give. Reconciliation is hard enough without stressing about another person. And I have always told her that I didn't want anything other than the FWB thing, but she went and fell in love with me, so it wasn't going to end well. And it didn't. I know that I cannot see her again, even if my R with my ex doesn't work out. I really don't think that if this R doesn't happen, that I will be in the market for another one for a while yet. I'm not going to do anything rash, in any case. I mentioned to her that I had broken up with my GF. She was very happy and cried some, but continued to say that until we have definitely decided to R, she feels she has no right to ask exclusivity of me. I ask her how she feels about me seeing other women. She said that she hates it but understands my needs. She told me that she has not seen anyone else and will not see anyone else until I decide that R isn't going to happen. And then she said that anyone else would be plan B, and she doesn't think she could ever love anyone as much as she loves me. That was nice, don't you think? Well, it seems nice to me, considering how she used to act pre-affair. She has really worked hard and come to grips with her feelings, and I have to say how impressed I am with that and proud of her for her honest self-appraisal. She said that losing me was the worst thing that has ever happened to her, and it took that kind of tragedy to make her see the person she had become, and to really dedicate herself to being the kind of woman that I would want to give a second chance to. And you know what? I'm really beginning to believe her. I think allowing her to come for Christmas did her a lot of good, but complete forgiveness is still always ahead, yet. But we are both getting there, slowly but surely. New Year's Eve she said that every moment she spends with me is more precious to her than anything else in the world. I told her that I thought I would be able to get over her cruel words, and that this year would be better for us. She cried a lot, but they seemed to be very happy crying. I think that my forgiveness of her is only part of the equation. She realizes, from her therapy, that her issues go back way before the affair. Before even our marriage. I'm just a layman, but I could always see that she had lots of trouble letting go of anything that disturbed her, hence her anger management issue. There is no doubt that she will need counseling for quite a while. She has done a huge amount since the affair. In fact, I would say that since the affair, she has been the person she was at the beginning of our marriage. The woman I fell for, head over heels, for me to forgive her and recommit to her. I need some kind of assurance that she will not, at some time in the future, revert to the cruel, hateful wife who cheated. Would like to announce that I have decided to R with my ex-wife. We will not be remarrying for now, and there are still lots of issues we must face. But I would also like to say how proud I am of my ex-wife and all of the work she has done and heartache she has endured this past 2.5 years to make this moment possible. I never thought it would happen and was fully prepared to live my life without her. But she has shown what a completely remorseful and transparent attitude can do. My ex-wife is completely in love with me. I believe this is true. She has absolutely no feelings of entitlement at all. She treats every moment with me as precious and expects nothing from me except human respect. When I compliment her, it's like giving her the Oscar. She blossoms. She has done a huge amount to give me the desire to try to make our work. I simply have a keen sense of my own boundaries and a lot of luck. Time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? I just decided to give a quick and general update on my situation. My ex-wife is currently staying with me while her apartment is being remodeled. We are getting along better than we ever have, even pre-affair. Her therapy is doing wonderful things for her and she is much more mature, loving, and thoughtful than she ever was in the past. Our bonding life is spectacular, and she has proven to me that her affair was not about bonding, but about the emotional issues she has, and the bad state of our marriage. At the time, she has literally gone to the bitter end to show her remorse and shame and is slowly working her way back to a positive self-image. With all of her work on repudiating the affair, controlling her anger and dealing with other pre-marriage issues she has, I can say that I am very proud of her and that the affair is no longer the main issue we face. I believe that I can be confident that it will never be repeated, ever. We have come a long way since late August, early September. When I first said that I would be willing to talk to her about our situation, I never, in a million years, dreamed we would have come this far. I now realize how much I love this woman, and am finally able to forgive her. Every single day, she will do something to show her love and I am willing to do the same. We have decided that we will not remarry for a while yet, if ever, but that she will live with me as my for the time being. I talked to her therapist and she said that the first things my sweetie said to her was, "What is wrong with me? How could I do this to my love? Why am I so evil and selfish?" She never blamed me for a single thing, and even refused to discuss any of the marital issues we had, if it cast any blame on me. The courage it took and still takes for her to face her reckoning is the single main reason I'm so in love with her. Today, I have to face my reckoning too. I look back on my past mistakes and foolishness, and hope, by facing them, to make a brighter future for both of us. We are walking our lonesome valley, my sweetie and I, only together. It's not so lonesome. I still blame her for the affair and feel that she wronged me completely. What I don't blame her for is the state of our marriage before the affair. We both made that bed together. I think I realized my part in our crappy situation fairly early on, but since the affair happened, I felt that it would be better to divorce than try to fix both the marriage and recover from her affair at the same time. I didn't feel it would be possible. I think now that I made the right decision, though I've had doubts. We have never gone to MC, because we aren't married. Sweetie has her individual therapy, but I'm now a part of the loop. So you might say we are in individual counseling, together, if that makes any sense. Almost a year later, we attempted to reconcile. We have since separated, permanently, but both feel that our reconciliation was successful. I've come to the conclusion that self-knowledge is crucial to the decision to R or D. I believe that if people, WS and BS, are truly honest with themselves, about themselves, they already know very soon after the affair is discovered or confessed, if they are able to R or if they should D. Sometimes they allow themselves to be swayed by outside sources, friends, family, the financial situation, comfortable lifestyle, into deciding to do one or the other, against their better judgment. But this is a good recipe for failure. My situation is a really good example. I knew from D-Day that my marriage was over and that I would not ever look at my wife the same way, and I didn't want to look at her in any other way. I had enough self-knowledge to know that I am not built that way. But later on, after my ex-wife had reinvented herself, think about this soul potato. To suit me, I was persuaded by friends, family, and her wonderful behavior to give it another try. We succeeded at reconciliation but failed at renewing our love. So, my first decision to D was the correct one because it was based on what I knew of myself and my tolerances and was not influenced by these outside distractions. Another year later, we tried to reconcile, but I didn't love her, so we called it quits. I had met another woman and am in love with her, so I couldn't. Recently, my ex and I were talking and she again asked if we could try again. I told her no, and she asked why I couldn't forgive her. I do not understand why she cannot let me go. I know she has done a great job changing herself and maturing as a person, and I really do forgive her. But forgiveness is not enough. The main problem seems to be that she has never truly gotten it as in understanding the damage the affair did to me and to our marriage. In thinking about this, I finally realized that I do not think it is possible for a WS to ever truly know what their cheating has done. I don't think any of them ever really get it, unless it happens to them at a later date. Marriage is an ongoing process, but I think that marriage and reconciliation are sometimes too much. You can weld a patch on a part that is stronger than the original, but it is still a patch. I will accept a patched part. I won't accept a patched marriage. In the last 2 weeks or so, Sweetie and I have been having some pretty intense talks about the possibility of us reuniting. I am adamant about not doing so, while she is attempting to get me to change my mind. It won't happen, but it has brought up some issues that I had thought were already dealt with. I have often wondered why it is so hard for the BS to forgive, and why it is so hard for the WS to relate, and why it is so hard for both to reconcile. Here are my thoughts and beliefs. Most reconciliations take place for reasons other than that the WS and BS are in love. Some of the reasons are kids, comfort, familiarity, and even a form of love. But that bedazzling, gut-churning, irrational desire for each other, I no longer think so. Those who say that their marriages are better post-affair, I am very skeptical of. The main reason is this: once the WS invites the affair partner into the marriage, she is there permanently. It is no longer a marriage of 2 persons. It is a marriage of 3. It doesn't matter if the WS renounces the affair partner. It doesn't matter if the BS accepts the affair. It doesn't matter if the WS likes, hates, or is indifferent to the affair partner. It doesn't even matter if the affair partner is alive or gone. As long as human memory exists, the affair partner is now an integral part of the most intimate structure of the marriage. Every decision, post-affair, every thought, word, or deed, is made with him, her, in mind, even the decision to ignore her presence. So, in my humble opinion, reconciliation is not a healthy way to live, for either the WS or BS. During the R attempt, I broke up with my GF. I hate passive-aggressive posts. You say no offense, then go on to be offensive. I don't know my ex-wife crap, nor do I need continued contact with her. Above family matters. However, I owe it to myself to do what I feel is right, which is help a friend, which is what my ex-wife is now. My GF is the very best, but I have done nothing to be ashamed of. In any way, everything I've done has been upfront and open to all. At first, the reconciliation made everybody happy. Even, at first, me too. My wife got her husband back, her integrity back, and her family back. My kids got their parents back together, and the rest of both families got a happy ending to a family crisis. Trouble was, I wasn't quite as happy as everybody else. At first, sure, I was glad to see my kids happy and I was proud of my wife's accomplishments, and the bonding and romance was off the chart. With all of that positive energy, you would think that it was a sure thing. But it wasn't. I have come to the conclusion that those marriages where the spark of initial love has somehow been rekindled have the greatest chance to succeed. I was not able to do this, however. My ex-wife was. She told me recently that she is more in love with me now than before we were married. Go figure. My comment: in the end, OP went back with girlfriend. At least he took the chance to try with the remorseful ex. It is extremely hard to build back your spark with any ex in the past, because you always remember their dark side more than their bright side. Story 2. The simple lesson. I'm in my mid-30s, and have been with my husband for 14 years. Married for 9 years. With a preschool-aged son. My husband has emotionally abandoned me for quite some time now. It's been about a year and a half. Prior to this he loved me so deeply, which I loved. However, he also used to pay all over me and it was way too smothering. I like to be affectionate and show him love too, but not so intensely. He had to sleep together at least once a week, no matter what. At times I have severe depression episodes, and also had brain tumor surgery with a lengthy recover period. Even during these times he would attempt it. Sometimes I would give in just so he could leave me alone, which made me even more depressed. He told me that this is why he turned from hot to cold, said he couldn't take the rejection anymore. In October, I found suggestive pics sent to him by a co-worker and text messages that to me prove he was having an emotional affair. When I confronted him, he was angry and still shows anger about it. He keeps saying that it was not an affair and they are just friends that went over the line with their joking. But I found out she has also met him in Vegas when he went with his mom and our son to visit family. And he's also gone camping with her and his friends. Just found out about that too. He said he told me he was going to meet a co-worker in Vegas, but to me this is way inappropriate. He tried to hang out with her again a week after I told him that this needs to end. That's when I told him stop being friends with this duck, or it's over. He was so mad that he destroyed his phone and was even more pissed at me. He seems to have limited contact with her now, but it still bothers me that he still says hi to her every day. After all this crap, I went to him and said maybe we can find a happy medium and show more affection to each other in ways that we both want. That's when he told me that he loved me in a different way. So, I asked him, are you trying to say, I love you but I'm not in love with you? That's when he said yes. After this I set up marriage counseling. Every time we went, he ended up yelling at me and storming out at the end of every session. My therapist told me that he has such a huge wall of resentment up towards me that I needed to stop trying to make it work and let him make the next move. Well, I did that, but after a month of counseling, with hardly any effort from him to try to make the relationship work, and I couldn't take it anymore and left to stay with my parents. He told me don't go, but he had no real emotion behind it at all. It's been a month and a half now, and though he is friendly when I talk to him, he never calls me or try to set up any dates. He only tried one time in December, but that was it. He is working major overtime right now to afford a new place of his own as our lease is up this month. But it seems like he doesn't care about fighting for our marriage. He says he is striving to make our marriage work, yet he tells me he tries to stay busy to not think about our situation and the fact that he is alone most of the time. After me calling him on Christmas and crying about how there's still no progress, we set it up so that I stay at our condo with him for a few days. But he told me after the first day that he feels too much anxiety when he sees me after coming home from work and wanted me to leave with our son. I told his ass to get a hotel room if he's not happy with me being there. And he did just that. After that he verbally attacked me so much that I was scared to even sleep that night. He has since then apologized, but what was said, and I feel he's too far gone to recover this marriage. He wasn't the best caregiver either. He would watch me but never really check on me and chat with me when I was in ICU or resting at home. I'd have to ask him to pay attention when the head surgeon came in and discussed my day-to-day progress. I would be struggling to get up from fatigue and he would just sit there. Sure, I'd ask him to help me out, and he would do it, but it got discouraging to have to ask him every time when I was in front of him. I will admit, I've said some hurtful things that were devastating to him. Like I could only handle like 50% of his love. That hurt him, and I can understand that. But what hurt me more was him seeing me not enjoying the bonding and still doing it. I always thought, how could somebody do that? I could understand if I was healthy and work was less stressful. But that wasn't the case. But you couldn't tell him that. He just points the finger at me and does not want to accept it. He also blames me for money issues, and the fact that we don't travel as much as he wants to. But he never saw the fact that after the honeymoon period, reality stepped in and there were things at home that we had to take care of. I know I could have traveled with him more and saved better as well, but it has been so hard with all of these ordeals that have happened. I am a student of mindfulness and focus on the present and not dwelling on the past. I used to always tell him when he offended me and what I felt was wrong. I know that was stressful for him too, but I've told him of this in my new ways and have offered to put the past behind me and move forward with him. But all he does is dwell on the past and won't change his thinking at the present. Day by day I'm accepting more and more that I am powerless to change his mind. Only he can change his mind. I am still in the initial grieving period of it all and am thinking of all my options. If I see no improvement after a few months, and only a few, I will then file for divorce. I don't think I didn't offer him consequences for bad behavior. During times that he treated me bad, for the most part I yelled, gave him the silent treatment at times, or just slept on the couch if I wanted no parts with him. One thing I did do wrong, however, was give him too much freedom to have a lot of friends of the opposite gender. He always had more girlfriends than guy friends. He was with me almost all the time, during our dating period. So I'm pretty sure he wasn't messing around with any of them, and I didn't want to have that rule since I wanted to also have the freedom to have as many guy friends as I want. But since this happened, if we reconcile, rules have to start being set. Once I found out about the affair, I ranted about it and as a consequence asked for a separation. But then I took it back once I cooled down and offered stay for another month or so to try to work out these issues. But he just took advantage of commitment and only tried to make a difference 1%. So that's when I took my cue and separated for real, and I am not backing out of it until he changes his ways. Update: from his actions of still not giving a crap about me, and his uncontrolling rage that still comes up every time we talk about our relationship, I think that you are totally right about him still being attached to this other woman. Plus, now I found out that he told his mom that I have hit him in the past. I can't believe he did this. I'm absolutely appalled. His mom was physically abused by her past lovers, so him telling her this is serious and appalling, and of course makes her think I'm an abuser too. I'm sure of it. He said I hit him in the balls a few times with my hand when he said something offensive while watching TV. And then said, "You deserved it." I admitted to that and know that this was taking it too far. And I know he of course didn't like it, but come on, abuse. He X'd me in the head before. He pinned me down I don't know how many times and once made my mouth bleed and hurt me in delicate places as well. We had a big falling out over this, and when he tried to conclude the conversation by yelling, "This is it. I'm through with this conversation. We're done with this. It's over." I replied to him in anger, "Yeah, it is over. I know everyone has been telling me to file for divorce, and I know this is the best and most productive strategy. The thing is I'm really scared to do it, because it's a risky one. I'm afraid that if I do file, he will be in such extreme rage that he will go through with the divorce full throttle and do anything he can to make my life a living hell. And then, knowing my personality, I would regret filing it and not going through with giving him a few months without the divorce decree to cool off and try again with me. So, I'm sure y'all are saying in your heads, why the hell would you want to stay with someone like that, who you know for sure might act in that way towards you? Wake up, girl. I know I would if I was trying to give advice to me. It's just that this is still so new to me and fresh in my mind. I think of how long it's been that I moved back with my parents, only about 2 months approximately. Sometimes I even still pinch myself to see if I'm dreaming this nightmare of a life. Plus, I just remember a man who was so head over heels in love with me. Up until a year and a half ago he was so in love still. He'd even dress in the same color as me when we'd go out so that we'd match as a couple. He'd never tell me that's why he was doing it, but I knew he did because of his love for me. I guess I'm still trying to come to terms with the fact that he has changed completely. This is not the man I married. When all the huge crap started, I'd listen to Ben Harper's Widow of a Living Man almost every day because it described my pain so much. Half a year later, my ex is pushing me hard to start the divorce process. I've let him know that though initially I pleaded with him to keep the family together while he kept refusing to do so. I don't want the marriage anymore either and that I'm not trying to stay married to him. But I don't want to start the divorce proceedings right now because of 3 things. I am unemployed. I am extremely low on money. I am going to school. Why don't I have a job? It's because I'm in college and am going to school under their unemployment training benefits program. I've been waiting for unemployment to give me an extension so I can focus on school full-time. But I got fired from my last part-time job so it lengthened the approval or denial process even longer. I'm actually looking for work right now, but I still have all sorts of problems at once. He only gives me the bare minimum for our shared bills every month. And he just started to refuse to give me any extra money now that he's gotten legal advice not to do so. So, I've told him I needed time to sort this out, but he's refusing to back down and put this off for at least another 6 months. He has been bugging me to finish up a divorce settlement sheet so we can just agree and settle out of court, but I just can't rush this in the month he's given me. Now he's frustrated that I haven't finished and gotten the information I needed ASAP. So now he's only giving me a few days before he starts the process of filing in court. He's also getting ugly and saying that if he has to file in court he won't agree to any spousal support. But whatever, I won't get alimony and he know that because I always made more when I was working full-time. He'll only agree to spousal support if we settle outside of court. But of course he's giving me no more time for that unless I agree to terms now. There's no tax benefit to start this now either, or we won't be considered married for 10 years since we separated when we were at 9 years of marriage. Plus, I can't afford any full-time professional help because I'm broke, and he knows that but of course doesn't care. I know he has a girlfriend and I'm 90% sure he's probably as pushing because of her. Of course, he won't tell me anything, and of course I don't care to know. Heck, I got tired of waiting for him to come around and I got me a boyfriend myself. Anyways, all emotions aside, is there any way I can stop him? Now he's giving me only a few days before he starts to contact the courts and forcing the divorce to start. Do I have any options to stop him? My comment, the reason he is forcing the divorce is because he wants her out of the picture. But if you look at it differently, you are getting rid of a piece of crap out of your eyesight. Maybe friends or family help is needed here. What have you done to finish this divorce?